My name is Luke Corraza. I'm Director of Curriculum here at IXL Learning. Been at the company about 10 years, and before that I taught secondary math for about 10 years. When we're designing curriculum at IXL, we're always thinking about student needs first and foremost. Most of our curriculum designers were teachers themselves, most of them, many of them, in the K-12 space. So we've experienced learners' needs and struggles and know exactly what can help students get through them. I think things like scaffolding is really important, making sure that you're providing students the supports they need, but then taking them away when the time is right so that students are working independently. Sequencing topics in the right order and being very careful about the order that you do things in is very important so that a student never finds themselves in a situation where there's something that they're being asked to do that requires something they haven't learned yet. And then maybe the third thing that comes to mind is just making sure that those more fundamental needs like language needs or audio support or the ability to zoom in and make the question larger because I'm having a hard time seeing it. All these sorts of more mechanical accessibility things are really important too, and they're always on our mind when we're designing content. So we know learners both need to be challenged and supported to meet those challenges. Inside of a single skill, we achieve that in a lot of different ways. The skills themselves are adaptive, so as a student is answering questions correctly, they will be getting an increased challenge from question to question to question. If they're struggling and getting things incorrect, we'll go the other direction and try to offer them something that's a little bit more at their level. And then beyond just the content adapting to students, there's all sorts of other supports that surround the skills. We have translation support in over 100 languages so that students have that language if that's what they need. Audio support for students who aren't quite reading the questions as well as they need to yet. There's explanations for every single problem on IXL. So if you're having a hard time, you don't understand the content, there's an explanation for that problem right there for you. There's video tutorials if you need extra support with before you tackle a skill, or maybe in the middle of a skill you realize you're having some trouble and would benefit from a little bit more of a direct instruction type experience. I could keep going, but I think there's so many other things I could mention there. So the skills on IXL are designed to be supportive of both students and teachers. The way we support teachers specifically is by making sure that first they have all the skills they need to directly support the standards that they're required to teach. But then we also understand that not every student is ready to tackle the standard at the level that it needs to be assessed at any given time. So we will offer supportive skills at the same time. So if you're having a hard time with a particular skill, at the bottom of that page you could find recommended other skills that you can go practice that will help you build up to the skill that you're trying to work on at the moment. The platform is also completely open. So if a student has already mastered a particular skill or a particular standard, that student can move on to whatever comes next, and they have that flexibility. So if you're a teacher in the classroom and you're trying to think about how you differentiate for your students at the top, the middle, and the bottom, IXL has a skill for exactly what you need at the moment. There's a few elements of IXL skills that have made them so successful. I think the adaptability is very important, where a student in a particular skill will be getting harder questions if they're getting questions right and easier questions if they're struggling. So at any given moment, a student is in that perfect zone of proximal development where they're being challenged, and we know that challenges can be engaging if they're a challenge that you can actually achieve and overcome. So I think there's the adaptability is very important to making IXL skills engaging and successful. And then I think also about if you compare to a print-based product, on a particular topic you may have a dozen, maybe 20 problems, and then that's it, right? Whereas on IXL we have unlimited practice. You literally can't run out of problems to practice on a particular topic, which is very valuable because oftentimes kids need more than just those 12 or 20 problems, and they have them. So one of the other things that's so effective about IXL skills is that they are endless. So the SMART score is IXL's proprietary scoring system. It goes from 0 to 100, but it's important to understand that it's not a percentage. It's a question we get from time to time. It's really a measure of proficiency. And the way I like to think about that is if a student is performing at a certain level, 80 means that a student is proficient in the content that they're practicing. They're getting some wrong, they're making some mistakes, somewhat consistently, but by and large they're performing well on that particular content. As that SMART score climbs to a 90, they enter the challenge zone, which is kind of the end of the skill where we're going to be asking the most challenging questions on that topic that we feel is appropriate. And if students are continuing to answer those questions right and can get enough of them right in a row correctly without making a mistake, they can reach a 100, which we usually think of as being the score that reflects mastery. Right? Once you've completely mastered a topic, you're probably getting everything right, not making mistakes anymore, and that's when you'll hit 100 in your SMART score. The SMART score supports teachers in differentiating and personalizing for students, and it also builds a certain amount of self-agency in students themselves, where they can take control of their own learning and say, yes, I'm at a SMART score of 80, that means I'm proficient, but I really want to reach mastery, and I'm going to take the time and the energy it takes to do the learning I need to get there. We update the curriculum all the time, honestly. Every 3 weeks we're releasing new skills, and at the same time we'll be making updates if we have to. We found something that we're unhappy with or we receive feedback on and we decide we want to act on it. About every 3 weeks you'll see updates. Those tend to be a little bit on the smaller side, especially during the school year, because we don't want to be super disruptive to teachers and students in the middle of the year. But then over the summer you'll see much larger changes. Sometimes we're moving skills off the page if they're no longer relevant. We're adding a lot more skills. We might break up categories into smaller ones. All sorts of other stuff could happen. Yeah, absolutely. We make changes all the time based on teacher feedback. We'll have teachers write in directly. We have our reps in the field who are hearing feedback from teachers, and we listen to that carefully. A lot of curriculum designers have children using the product itself, or were teachers who used IXL in the classroom too. So we have lots of sources to get feedback of what's happening in the classrooms from teachers, from our reps, from ourselves, and we're constantly taking that feedback into account when we're thinking about how to design the next skill or make improvements to the existing content.